Well, hello there and welcome to the bathroom of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Hugh Stelfers for March 24th, the day of beguiling simplicity. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of beguiling simplicity. We have what appears to be a Cush'ing cut gem. That's right. Ostensibly an aquamarine, considering it's March. That's right. Now, does that speak to the day of beguiling simplicity? Well, I don't know if you've been here before, but a lot of the times these images are rather enigmatic. So I would say to that end, rather simplistic, all right? Even though I would assume making such a cut is probably pretty complicated. That said, visual representational image aside, not altogether all too important. I just like folks to kind of see what's on the page in front of me. What is important, though, is it's somebody's birthday. That's right. So if it's March 24th, or if your birthday is March 24th more properly, I hope you have a happy birthday. But if this finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may happen to be, well, I hope you had a happy birthday in that circumstance. But for everybody else joining us randomly or more ideally to celebrate, hey, I just want to say welcome and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that is roll some dice. That's right. It is the Diecast birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake. But if you've been here before and you know the score, well, hey, just skip ahead in the chapters and get on with the redirect. Ostensibly, the other folks are interested in this, so stick around, because I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. Oh, and here I rolled a 6 and a 6 for a 12. That's right, doubles, so straight to jail for you. And since you're going to be here for a time, maybe I can explain what synchronicity means to you. That's right. Well, my friends, as I hear it told, the universe or the higher powers that be will oftentimes put things in our path to help us realize our goals or manifest our aspirations. But oftentimes we got the blinders on in this life to what's going on around us. Or maybe we do see the things that come across our path, but maybe we don't lend them a lot of credence, all right? Now, as I hear told, those things can help us, like I said, manifest our goals. So I would think that people would want to grab onto such things. So this is a little bit of a examination or an exercise into being able to identify those things as they cross our path. But how do we do that? Well, we need some kind of a sign that we can't help but take notice of. That's right, something mutually agreed upon between us and the universe, your daily numbers. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled for you. The intention is there, but it's probably advisable you take your own set of dice. So you can ascribe directional values to number sets and time limits with which to go in those directions, all right? You're essentially letting the universe take the wheel and drive and show you what it wants you to see. That said, once you've got all that figured out, just pick out a place near and dear to your heart, or maybe some place you haven't explored before, and set out, all right? But that said, once you get there, get those blinders off, all right? And start soaking up everything around you like a sponge. You never know, the day might also start to take on a little bit of a theme outside your numbers creeping up, all right? You might start to see Cush'ing diamonds everywhere, or aquamarines more properly. Or that said, just, representations of gemstones, if you like. Maybe stickers on the sides that transform a box in the shape of diamonds, whatever the case may be. Or maybe you start passing a bunch of jewelry shops, all right? It's just something to be mindful of. But again, the theme can be anything, not just the representational image. So keep your mind right, all right? Keep your eyes open if you like. That said, hey, you get after your first directional value time limit. At the end of it, maybe you're not seeing anything of note, all right? Well, just take it in stride. Maybe it takes time for the universe to get things in place for you. That said, take a step back, maybe look around, maybe you notice something small, like you're on old 66th Avenue or 12th Avenue, all right? I would take that as a sign you're on the right path, all right? That's your daily number there. So maybe roll yourself another dice value. Let's say 12 comes up again, just for simplicity's sake. It is the day of simplicity. And you know what? Maybe a bus pulls up right as you're standing up from your dice roll. And hey, what's this? Again, boom. It's the number 12 line or whatever number value you rolled, all right? I would say there's a perfect example of, there you go, synchronicity. So, and maybe you just so happen to have perfect change in your pocket for the fare. All right, hey, you can ride the bus. Hey, but you know what? Maybe it takes off because you was taking too much time to think about it. Was that a universal sign, whatever? Hey, you know what? Even if you missed it, a lot of times, as I hear it told, the universe will get things back on your path, even if you miss something, all right? So maybe roll your dice for a time value to see how long to go in the direction of the bus. And hey, you know what? Maybe at the end of this time value, you catch up with it, all right? I wouldn't say try to catch up with it. Just let it happen organically. At the end of your time value, it's still there. Boom. Now we get on the bus and ride, all right? But maybe you don't like being on the bus, all right? Hey, so you roll your time limit to find out how long to stay on this thing. And then what's this? You roll, again, let's say it's 12, and you look up, and hey, what's this? Maybe you just so happen to notice somebody's wearing a sports jersey with the 12 on it, or whatever number you rolled, right? I would say this is a circumstance of that individual serving as a white rabbit of sorts, someone to follow if you like, all right? So that said, maybe you just use them as the example of when to get off the bus. You get off when they do. Or more properly, if the bus example didn't happen and you're out in the wild and the circumstance happens, say, you know what? This is the individual to follow for a little while, all right? See where they go, or at least follow them for your time limit. That said, give them a buffer. You don't want to come off like some kind of stalker, but as I often say too, maybe they notice you following them, all right? You got to be judicious with this stuff. You got to be sly if you like. That said, just be open and transparent in such situations. Show them your dice, maybe show them this video. Just tell them, hey, you were the thing that the universe put down in my path ostensibly, so I had to see where you were going, at least for my time value here. And they might say, you know what, this whole thing's crazy. And I'm sure you're apt to agree, but you just say, yeah, this synchronicity thing, I've never done such a thing. They go, yeah, that's crazy too. But you know what they might say? It's even crazier. It's their birthday too. That's right. Hey, you know what? Truth sometimes stranger than fiction. And all these examples I use oftentimes because you know what? I think they're perfect representations of synchronicity, all right? Stacking up coincidences, if you like. I think they're synonymous. That said, maybe that individual's apt to join you on this journey because, hey, they're not doing anything special today. They were just getting out, getting some air. And that's great too because as I hear told, the more people who join in the same endeavor, focus on the same objective, that's right, stacking up coincidences in this case, you're apt to beget greater results, all right? In any event, I think you get the idea of synchronicity, so get out there, find those stunning, beguiling, simplistic gems, if you like, and maybe let the universe blow your hair back, all right? So that said, let's get on with the read. I think you get the idea of synchronicity. Your month is March, if you didn't know. Your day, the 24th. Your sign is 2 to 4 degrees Aries of the Pisces Aries Cusp. The last day of it, I believe. That's right, the last day. And your quality and element is Cardinal fire. Well, all right. March 24th, the day of beguiling simplicity. March 24 people are spontaneous and direct and generally prefer to keep life as simple as they can. When confronted with problems, whether in their work or personal life, they tend to make broad choices and avoid entanglements if possible. Yet fate seems to serve up complexity again and again for them, whether in the form of difficult individuals or challenges which they must surmount. Finding the simplest manner with which to deal with such complexity can thus become a most pressing task. There is an undeniable childlike air about March 24 people. Their natural demeanor and openness is usually apparent at first meeting. Because of their attitude of wonder and expectation, however, they react worse than most due to disappointment and reaction, and in extreme cases, severe depression can overcome them. And indeed, for many born on this day, a tinge of sadness is a lifelong companion. And March 24 people usually display a quiet demeanor, and rarely do they enjoy speech for its own sake. And indeed, they prefer, or instead rather, they prefer to express themselves physically, whether in love, hobbies, or athletic endeavors. And they can make highly satisfying partners, both as mates and co-workers. And in addition, those born on this day seldom arouse antagonism in the workplace and are usually highly prized for their ability to unassumingly produce steady results. Modesty is a fine attribute of many March 24 people, and those born on this day can in fact be retiring, sometimes shy, yet it would be a great mistake for others to assume that they are passive or an easy touch. For example, in the face of opposition or outright attack, they show great fortitude and rarely back down. And in their home life, they generally insist that things be done their way, harmoniously if possible. Where March 24 people are more vulnerable is when subtle pressures or negativity are exerted on them over a long period of time. And these may ultimately wear them down and insidiously undermine their hopeful and positive outlook. Because of their many desirable qualities of affection, loyalty, and spontaneity, it may be difficult for friends and family to understand why March 24 people so often fall into problematic situations. And part of the reason may be that the optimistic expectations and openness of those born on this day prevent them from taking a more realistic approach. And thus, March 24 people must learn to be more methodical and a bit less fanciful in confronting and solving daily problems, and perhaps tempering their childlike directness with a healthy dose of watchfulness, caution, as well as care. Well, all right, quite the fascinating birthday breakdown today. It was chock full of different dynamics, different contrasting paradigms. I don't know, they really went into the theme, fleshed it out. That said, it wasn't the most well-rounded birthday breakdown, to be sure. Ever since back to the beginning of Capricorn, they've really kind of taken a tact of being hyper-focused on the theme there and kind of fleshing it out. And that said, a lot of the other birthdays in the book are pretty well rounded. They'll dive into relationship facets, like what it's like to be a parent, a coworker, or what do you call a partner, if you like. They kind of mention those things, but they really didn't drill down on them. That's why I say it's a little bit more hyper focused there on the theme. That said, not altogether all too important. I just kind of like folks to have a little bit of an idea of what else the book provides to that end. That said, I like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we just read. Maybe not just find out things that I found interesting, but also maybe through-line themes in the book writ large or in the period specifically. So let's dive into the commentary here. My notes, if you like. All right. So March 24th, the day of Beguiling Simplicity. You're said to be spontaneous and direct and keep things simple, all right? And you have a tendency to make broad choices and avoid entanglements, all right? And the reading claims that fate will tend to bring you no uncertain amount of complex issues to deal with despite all of that. For rather ironic, if not predictable, kind of tragic comedy that I'm sure you, a person with a preference for simplicity, can both appreciate and absolutely abhor in the same breath. If you do in fact possess a little bit of that childlike air that the birthday breakdown also mentioned, all right? We got to have a sense of humor about these kind of things sometimes, I would argue. All told, these kinds of obverse, counter reality to your nature kinds of dynamics are peppered all throughout the book. All right. So if you do face such frustrations, hopefully you can at least take some semblance of solace in knowing that, you're not alone. Okay. The higher powers that be aren't just toying with just you. All right. So having said that, the reading claims your nature may make you more susceptible to reacting adversely to disappointment as well as rejection. And while this is also rather quite common, the readings claim that this sadness could be a lifelong companion. I would say that aspect isn't. All right. So while that sounds like the worst kind of information to have given over to you or to hear applies to you specifically, I'd say it's great to hear this as early as possible, all right? And finding out, rather than finding out, say, decades down the line that this seems to be the reality that you're born into, all right? Now, I would say knowing such a reality is baked into the bargain with your life, allows you to prepare and ostensibly rally for such outcomes, all right? So I say rally any and all methods of madness and common sense that help you pull yourself out or lessen the intensity of such circumstances, so that you are ready for when they do occur. All right, and you can more aptly adapt to such things and hopefully pull yourself out of such doldrums when, like I said, hopefully if they present. All right. But moving on, they said you had a quiet demeanor, and that has come up in this period, writ large. It's like the whole Pisces, Aries cusp. Everybody's kind of quiet and they keep collected to themselves. Pretty interesting through line there. But mention of being satisfying partners and coworkers, that's kind of novel for the period, surprisingly. Some of these other folks arouse a lot of antagonism sometimes, so you buck that trend. Even some of the most well-off, glowing people of the period still arouse antagonism, surprisingly. So you have that going for you, I would say, at the very least, okay? What else do we have here? You add in modesty and a strong will, also personal fortitude and a positive outlook, and providing something insidious doesn't come in there and play out the clock on you. It sounds like. I'd argue that the Cush'ing gem is the perfect visual representational image. All right, such beauty only comes from time, hard minerals, as well as pressure. All right, so that said, that's what I'd say about the birthday breakdown. Pretty interesting day, fascinating. Like I said, all those different paradigms and dynamics at play. There was no real rug pull per se. Sometimes they shake up these things. You think you know where it's going, and at the very end, there's a kind of a rug pull. But here for you, I would say it's just peppered throughout the whole thing. So, in no small part. So, in any event, once again, that's the birthday breakdown. Let's move on to your numbers and your planets. All right. Those born on the 24th of the month are ruled by the number 6, as 2 plus 4 equals 6, and by the planet Venus. And those ruled by Venus and by the number 6 value harmony above all things. And they find social interactions stimulating as well as rewarding. And they enjoy romance, but the kind of love they crave is generally more affectionate in nature than passionate. And however, because Mars rules Aries, March 24, people come under the Venus-Mars connection that grants sexual attractiveness and can produce a rather stormy love life. All right, this one was pretty personalized here for you. They did put in some of the boilerplate Venus stuff, but because Mars came in there, they had to make it a little bit more personalized, get into some different kinds of details there. That said, what I'd say about the numbers and planets. It was also kind of sparse to that end. Sometimes there's a few more sentences than that. So let's see if I can impart a little bit more context and value for you here. The number 6, planet Venus, for value of harmony above all things. Let's see, also rewarding social dynamics, romance, and a natural love. Very unique, personalized Venus entry, like I said. The Venus-Mars dynamic is said to grant sexual attractiveness, like they said, in a stormy love life, all right? And this is apt to make a certain kind of sense considering the contrasting male and female energies from Mars and Venus, respectively. Venus with its love and Mars with its god of war like aggression and drive, okay? But Neptune's subtle cusp co-rulership powers that can't be overlooked here, however, as it rules over dreams, visions, and concern for higher ideals as well as romanticism. The element of childlike wonder and or intuitive psychic powers there. They said when Mars is coupled to Neptune, surprisingly. And that has presented the past few days, so I couldn't help but throw it in here, even though they didn't mention as much. Also, interestingly, this quiet demeanor, like I said, that kind of gets baked in there. It must be that Neptune is curbing some of that Mars aggression and just giving you more introspection. I don't know, more of a head in the clouds kind of nature is kind of what Neptune folks have. And then I would say Mars, in no small part, though, brings you down out of that a little bit. So you're kind of floating above the ground, but not quite up in the clouds. But so you're getting both the best worlds, I would say, or the best of both worlds, rather. So I would say you're granted a few extra gifts thanks to this inclusion of these 3 different planets. So again, that's another bit of an oxymoronic thing because it's rather complicated in there. So not so simple, but it begets rather simplistic motivations, apparently, is to say. In any event, that's what I had to add there for your numbers and your planets. Let's move on to your tarot. That's right. One of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies, if you like. But hey, it's here in the book, and sometimes these things, they almost inform the breakdown, surprisingly. So let's see what it has to say. They don't pick these randomly, nor do they just try to find which one best suits the day. It just goes by a number system. So there's a little less chance involved. Let's see how it stacks up. As if to emphasize this last point, the sixth card of the major arcana is the Lovers. All right, rather harmonious, right, considering Venus. Symbolizing the love that unites all of humanity through integration of masculine and feminine polarities. Once again, on the good side of this card indicates affections and desires of a high moral, aesthetic, and physical plane. But on the bad side, unfulfilled desires, sentimentality, and indecisiveness. All right. Rather sparse entry for the tarot card. Pretty boilerplate. It's just a total copy-paste job from days previous. Sometimes they'll personalize it, button it with a little bit of something to say why this stands as like an example to live up to, perhaps. And other times, why it's more emphasized. But let's get in what I had to say. Maybe we can add a little bit more value here to it for you. The Lovers, symbolizing the love that unites, all right, for positives of affections and desires with regard to high morals, beauty, and the material world. And which I would say are evidenced not just by your optimism, but also if you face depressions and you're still out there trying to give it your all and keep your good eye on, the bad things, rather. That doesn't make any sense, but I think you know what I mean. You're also highly influenced and influential to and by the world around you. It also speaks to not arousing antagonism, I would say, and in no small part either. But mind focusing on the unfulfilled desires, sentimentality, and the indecisiveness. I would say give those things their time. Learn what you can from them while you're in that particular altered state, because they can be a valuable teacher in that respect. What can we discern from and learn about ourselves while we're in this different state of being and understanding? But then you got to put it away. Give it its time, but then put it away, all right? Because it also is a bit of a poison in large doses, all right? So learn what you can from that depression, let it be a teacher, and then put it away. It's going to come back again eventually. So then you give it its time again, rinse, repeat, all right? So I would say cultivate it as a teacher, as a tool, and use it for what you can, all right? Cultivate what you call self-awareness, I would say. And that, by and large, is one of the through-line themes of the book, as well as balance, or harmony, if you like, and moderation. So there wasn't a lot to say, but I would say this lines up quite aptly with the breakdown. Almost informs it in certain ways if you kind of read between the lines, flesh out some definitions of the words they used. Yeah, and it applies in there. And there was that female and male dichotomy going on, all right? And that's largely present in the numbers and the planets with Mars and Venus, all right? And then the beauty, love of beauty, that's a Venus thing, but also because of Neptune, I would say. So in any event, pretty apt, like I already related. That said, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. Oh, let's see what they got to say about your health here. March 24 people are highly sensitive. Consequently, their health is directly related to their mental, emotional state and to that of those around them. Above all, they should strive to achieve harmony in relationships and their living situation. Emotional imbalances may cause sickness, manifesting in a bewildering variety of symptoms, to say some acute and some chronic. And yet, even quite serious systematic disorders can clear up if the cause of the emotional imbalance is discovered and hence dealt with. And those born on March 24 do well with a balanced diet and should avoid powerful stimulants like coffee, alcohol, and sugar when possible. Although chocolate may be valuable for its possible antidepressant possibilities. Or at least properties, rather. Dinner composed of rice or pasta and cooked vegetables, lightly spiced, may be best for keeping on an even keel. A daily or tri-weekly regimen of moderate physical exercise is highly recommended. All right. A bit of a boilerplate way of laying out the format for the health entry. that they've largely kind of digressed from in past days, past periods, really. So you got a little bit back into the basics there. Though they did tailor it to you, they put in things that were specific to you in the appropriate places. So, in any event, let's get back to it here. All right, the notes. All right, your health. Highly sensitive. All right, how about that? All right, I would have guessed as much, right, based on the breakdown. You're also influenced by your surroundings, apparently. So they didn't mention it, but this often comes up, or at least when it's mentioned, what comes up is they say you might be allergic to a lot of different things. They didn't put that in here, but that's where my mind goes. So take care of as much. But I think they may not have put it in there because they spoke to your emotions influencing such things. And then those symptoms kind of evaporating once you deal with those psychological influences, all right? Interestingly enough, when they bring in psychology to this kind of stuff, they usually ditch any kind of diet recommendations because they got to make space for the thing they find a little bit more important, I would argue. But you got both of them here, so they did you a service, I would say. What else do you have to say? That's also kind of speaks to the tarot with regard to the health, surprisingly, and that's particularly rare. So again, harmony is ostensibly the unspoken theme of the day again. Your emotions also said, like I said, to influence your health, which, all right, good to know again, all right? More things to know and be aware of so that we don't have to personally discover them, all right? Things to be mindful of. Balanced diet with avoidance of stimulants and depressants. This comes up from time to time. It's been a while since we saw it, but here you go. Again, something else to be mindful of. But here's something that's novel that if it has come up only once or twice before, and that's the value of chocolate and its potential antidepressant capabilities there. So I would say go buck wild with that as long as it's low on the sugar, right? But grounding diet otherwise for balance and a daily tri-weekly exercise regimen that's moderate. To keep you on an even keel. And I would say they drilled down on that because of the Mars, Neptune, Venus dynamic. Typically Mars days, if it's ruled by Mars real hot and heavy, they get vigorous exercise, ostensibly to excise their god of warlike energy. Didn't quite come up for you that way, but I would say that's because Venus and Neptune pull it down a little bit. You don't have to be so aggressive. What else there? You had your grounding kinds of diets there, and I would say that's thanks to Neptune in no small part. But I'd say because Mars is in there, you could probably have a little bit of meat and stuff too. Who's to say? But, salt to taste, see what works best for you. You got a whole host and variety of options, ostensibly because of the planetary influences. I don't know if that's the reason, but that seems to be the common denominator throughout the book as to why they discern the diets they choose. But in any event, that's what I'd say about your health. Hopefully we provide a little bit more context for certain things. And let's move on to some advice. That's right, a little bit more advice for you on your birthday. Here we go. Keep your life balanced and beware of attracting trouble, all right? Handle small matters with care as well as patience. And there are, in fact, details that merit your concern. All right. Quick, fast, down and dirty, very succinct with the advice here today. I don't know, it's typical that they go pretty quick in and out, but sometimes they're redundant, which they kind of were today. So let's see what they had to say. I would say it's still valuable, but let's get into it here. What did I have to say about what they have to say? They said keep life balanced and beware attracting trouble. To me, it sounded like you didn't really have a choice in the matter, but hey, let's examine it, all right? Balance or harmony again comes up. Important through line theme for the book as well, all right? Not just you, though it's coming up for you specifically. But a watchword, if you like. As for attracting trouble, it seemed baked in inevitability for you. So keep a weather eye on the horizon, all right? And also, what else do I have here? Maybe try inviting it as a little bit of an experiment, all right? I know that sounds contrary to what you think, but hey, you know what? Maybe trouble is only interested in the people that don't want it, all right? I reckon that there's some kind of cognitive dissonance there, because if trouble is some kind of entity, it's going to know that you're trying to invite it just to make sure it doesn't come, so it's probably going to come anyway. I don't know. Just if you're trying to gamble, give it a try. I don't know. I don't recommend it, but hey, something novel to think about. They also said handle matters with care and with patience, all right? You don't want them turning into bigger issues because you didn't lend them the appropriate credence, okay? I'm assuming. And that is if everything is out to get you, as it kind of sounds like they said in the breakdown. There are, in fact, details that merit your concern, they said. We have to be realistic sometimes, all right? Learn where fanciful can play and where being methodical is advisable, all right? It can be fun to be loose, fancy-free, and, on the factory floor, if you like, kind of dynamic, I'm guessing. But you start throwing AA batteries into the molten metal in those crucibles there, and you know that you're apt to beget literal hot messes and probably some antagonists in the bargain once they're released from the burn unit. All right, I know that one from personal experience. Someone threw a AA battery in the molten aluminum in the crucible, blew up. And the person that did it got some antagonists in the bargain because everybody got punished that day. That's right. In any event, that's right. So you're someone who doesn't arouse antagonism. All right. Something to be mindful of. That said, that's been your advice, what I had to say about it. I know a little bit all over the place, but you know what? Something to be weary of or think about if you like. So that said, your advice in the can. Let's move on to your meditation. That's right. Something else to think about on your birthday. And we're here in the bathroom where all the big thinking gets done, so let's get it. Your meditation. The greatest gift that one can give is another, or give to another rather, is to reveal oneself. All right, very interesting. Now let's say it clearly this time. How about that? The greatest gift that one can give to another is to reveal oneself. I like it. I like it, all right? I don't know where it applies, but you know what? That's not for me to decide, all right? That's your birthday, your meditation. That's for you to think on. Even if I had an interpretation, I wouldn't give it to you because that would kind of defeat the purpose, am I right? That said, your meditation in the can. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. Let's see where you got the girth and when you otherwise maybe a little more atrophied, all right? Your strengths, you're positive, you're open, and you're affectionate. All right. But your weaknesses, let's see where you got the atrophy there, if you like. You're imprecise, you're depressive. I think we heard that one. And unrealistic. All right. We get it. Okay, you know what? Oftentimes I like to make a case that our strengths are going to help us overcome our weaknesses. All right. If they're even something they need to overcome in the first place. That said, I also like to argue our weaknesses can be strengths of their own accord. It just depends on the situation. There was one day a couple months back that impulsive came up as a strength, and the very next day traded to a weakness. I was like, what's the difference here? Days so close to one another, they're totally different. It just depends on the individual, I would say. But let's try to make a case for our strengths, helping us overcome our weaknesses. You're positive. You know what? That's huge. You're going to keep your, weather eye on the horizon, but with a nice rose-tinted look to it, all right? And I would say positivity helps overcome a lot of things in the end, all right? It's going to help give you that added bit of, extra endurance, if you like, to approach, solving any kind of problems. Hopefully the ones that you think are baked in with you, all right? Your weaknesses, if you like. But you're also open. I would say that's huge too. Being open to any kind of suggestions, information, things other people might have to say about it. And then, hey, you're positive about it. You're going to caught into things that people might have to say. And also maybe how to use it to your respective ends. And you're affectionate, all right? Hopefully towards yourself, I would say. But more properly, I would say that if you show that affection to others, they're probably apt to come to your aid if you need their assistance in improving on such things, all right? Because I would say having friendship or other people who are apt to help you out when you need it, that's going to be huge in such situations, all right? As to your weaknesses, how can those be strengths? It says you're imprecise. That's kind of a difficult one. How could that be a strength? Well, I would say that leaves room for improvements, all right? Sometimes people want things done perfect. That's kind of an unachievable goal, quite honestly. Nothing's ever perfect. But if you're not even thinking in that respect, you're just like, hey, let's get it done. Let it stand where it stands. Now you can move on to the next thing, too. So you're kind of dealing with things on a quantity versus quality respect. And that sounds bad in a lot of cases, but not necessarily, all right? And also, like I said, it leaves room for improvement in the future. You can come back to it later, improve upon it more, and maybe you find that it's that much more harmonious with the results that you're looking for. All right, time to reflect on things. There you go. Also depressive. How can that be a strength? All right, once again, it serves as an example of where we can improve later. It's also going to give you insight into life that other people can't necessarily get their hands on because they haven't necessarily had to experience it the same way that you have. So it's a huge tool in that respect. I mean, how many stand-up comedians come from just a bunch of damage, and then they're able to bring smile and laughter to other people's hearts? That's huge, but it comes from struggle. All right, so don't poo-poo the fact that you have to endure this thing that is painful. All right, because from pain we can grow. You got to stay positive. All right, not get down in them doldrums and let it get the best of you. So it can be a strength in that respect, I would argue. Also said you're unrealistic. All right, hey, you got the bit of that Neptune dreamer about you. You dream of things unseen that hopefully one day come to pass. But if you're not unrealistic, how can you dream about the things the world hasn't seen before? All right, so I think I get what they're trying to say here. You're too unrealistic, and you're always heading the clouds. All right, or you've got these expectations that can't be filled. But if you're balanced about it, harmonious about it, if you like, yeah, you can be somewhat realistic about it and measure it out, but still have that little bit of dreamer in you. You know what? People are going to be attracted to that too, I would say, because people like to dream. They like to be told stories, take them outside themselves for a little while, a little bit of escapist reality. It's just got to be measured. So I would say being unrealistic is also a strength in those regards. But again, moderation, balance, all right? Through line themes there. That said, maybe I didn't make the best case for it in your mind. I think I did all right. I've done far worse. So in any event, I also like to say, don't get rid of your weaknesses altogether if there's something you're trying to improve upon, because they're part of who you are. All right. So that said, your weaknesses and your strengths haven't been gone over. Let's move on to those born on this day. When we get into those born on this day, not only do we get to see who shares your company, which can be an interesting lottery to witness, but I like to examine it from the perspective of trying to drum up some inspiration to chase after our passions. All right, what did they do, and how can that influence me to start driving after what I want to do? All right, and get fulfillment from. Because too often in life I meet people who I ask if what they do and if they enjoy it. A lot of times they don't, and I think they just got out of school right into a job that helped them make ends meet. And you know what? The fatal flaw was it didn't have anything to do with something they would like to do. And so how much more fulfilling would your life be as if you were filling your coffers, but also enjoying yourself while you did it? And you were deriving fulfillment from it. All right? You're talking about how for you, having a strong mental, happiness, if you like, is going to help you with your health. All right, you got to figure out those psychological problems. Having something fulfilling in your life, I would argue, is huge for that. So let's look at it from that perspective as we dive in with those born on this day. But if you already got your passion figured out, well then, the hat I'm not wearing is off to you. Let's just see who shares your company. All right, so let's get into it here. We start off with William Morris, the British pre-Raphaelite poet and artist. We also have Joseph Priestley, a British chemist and the oxygen discoverer, also a clergyman and a philosopher. We have John Wesley Powell, a geologist and a Native American authority, it says. Steve McQueen, the film actor. We also have Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, silent film actor. We also have Wilhelm Reich, a psychologist, an organ box inventor. Not quite sure what that is, but here nor there. Moving on, we have Thomas E. Dewey, a presidential candidate and the New York State governor. We also have Clyde Barrow, bank robber and partner of Bonnie Parker. We also have Pat Bradley, a woman golfer, it says, two-time LPGA Player of the Year. Also have Lawrence Ferlinghetti, a San Francisco beat poet, writer, and a painter. We also have Malcolm Muggeridge, a British writer and a journalist. And we also have Bob Mackie, a costume fashion designer. And interestingly, we had a costume designer yesterday, also a lot of psychologists yesterday. So a bit of a through-line theme there. We also have King Pleasure, a jazz singer. And the jazz folks always have the interesting names. We also have Charlie Toorop, a Dutch woman painter, it says. Why they're getting into the sexes, I don't quite know, but there you go, a Dutch woman painter. Also, Erskine Sandiford, a barbarian prime, is that right? Barbadian prime minister, probably more aptly said. Also, Engelbert von Angerlicht, a Belgian abstract expressionist painter. Bill Porter, U.S. Olympic gold medal winning hurdler. Jack Sack, it says, a journalist. We also have Ronaldo Nahimia. I'm saying that wrong, but that's what it sounds like. Nahimia, I-A-H at the end there, however that's pronounced. Also a hurdler and a football wide receiver. First time hurdler comes up, and there's two of them. How about that? And we finally have Marika Kilius, a German figure skater. And yesterday we had two figure skaters too. Interesting. Through line theme again. A little bit of harmony, if you like, there with the period. And this has been one period that's just seen so many through lines. Let me tell you, folks, in any event, that essentially rounds out your birthday reading. I know I've butchered a few names in this. Let's make up for it on my side of things by doing some butchering on my side. Not done in malice. It's just hooked on phonics. Doesn't always work for me with the, what you call pronouncing foreign names there, or reading in general, as you saw. But that's it. I know it's a big ass tall order to take inspiration from other people to figure out our passions. But hey, if I could just put the bug in your ear about it, hopefully I can start help you rekindling those fires to start carving out some time to put in some energy to considering as much. All right. If I can wish for you anything on your birthday, it's that you're doing figurative or literal backflips out of bed in the morning to get on with your day and do something fulfilling. All right. That said, like I mentioned earlier, that essentially rounds out your birthday reading, except to say your season is spring. Your sign, once again, is Aries of the Pisces, Aries Cusp. Like I said, the last day there, and your quality and element is Cardinal Fire. And this has been the day of Beguiling Simplicity with the Cush'ing Aquamarine, ostensibly from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and U. Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up your own copy, getting through it quicker than I could for you, considering I won't be there to provide a commentary. But that said, you know what? This thing makes an excellent coffee table book. That's how it was presented into my life. Somebody read my birthday for me out of it. I didn't agree at all. They kind of told me their case, why they thought so. I just need to adjust my perspective a little bit on my definitions of the words they was using. And then, you know what? It all came into focus, all right? Quite interestingly. Whether it lines up for you that way, who's to say? But, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourselves because it's your birthday, and I just want to say happy birthday, all right? That said, book not altogether all too important. Like I said, what's important? Wishing you a happy birthday. That said, I want to thank you for the pleasure of your time and the privilege for celebrating your birthday with you. I put a little personal message down below the affiliate link in the description if you're interested in checking that out, so it's there for you. But for everybody else who joined us here to celebrate, I just want to say I hope you enjoyed yourselves and you join us for your birthday reading, all right? That said, before I take us out, once again, the daily numbers, all right? Your doubles there. And today was the number 6. Hey, we rolled 2 of them, all right? Now, even though you're in jail, hey, find a way to celebrate that and make it line up for you. Maybe you find yourself in cell block 66. Who's to say? That said, all right, find your harmony. Don't let depression get the better of you. Use it as a tool if you can, and then put it away, all right? Get on with your day. It's going to come back later. It's always going to be there, all right? And you can let it come back out later. So, all right, once again, happy birthday, and thanks for joining us, all right? Take care of yourselves, too. All right, take care.